Going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today I will be recapping the Rams versus Bears game as well as the Texans versus Patriots game. Um, Both games kind of went somewhat. No, I shouldn't say somewhat. This game, the Rams game, made no sense to me. The fourth quarter made somewhat sense to me, but for the most part, that game was not what I thought it was going to be. And then the Texans Patriots game, I feel like most people knew that was going to be a very sloppy and ugly game. And that's an understatement to say that. But I'm just going to start on with the Rams versus the Bears. The game just ended, I'd say, around 5 to 6 minutes ago. Um, what I will say first off is for 3 quarters, the game was pretty, boring. Like, not much happened, you know? There wasn't a whole lot going on in this game. It wasn't exciting. It wasn't like, whoa, what is going on? Like how I thought it was gonna be. I also didn't know what the weather was gonna be, and it feels like the weather played a huge factor in this game. Um, but yeah, it was obviously it's a Bears game, so the fourth quarter is gonna be fucking exciting, and so was overtime. Um, yeah, this was basically the best way I can explain it is Caleb Williams did what he usually does for 3 quarters, which is like play mediocre like football, and in the fourth quarter he's like, "Oh shit, I forgot I'm supposed to be the quarterback," and then like play good. In the fourth quarter though, he throws a pick. I believe that was a play where like DJ Moore just never saw the ball, which is just it's tough for your season to end that way knowing that like, hey, if my receiver would have seen that, maybe stuff would have changed. But at the end of the day, they went to overtime because you guys weren't able to do much as for the Bears. Um, Caleb Williams had fucking Caleb Williams to me is always someone that I'm like he can't make simple throws, but he can make the hardest throws. This motherfucker did a fucking fadeaway, like 40-yard throw with perfect accuracy to I think like Cole Kmet, I think. But yeah, it was like a fucking 40-yard heave with perfect accuracy. And I was like, how the fuck did he do that? And by the way, it was only supposed to be like a 10-yard play. It wasn't supposed to be like a very far play. It was just like insanely like he ran 20 yards back and then just said, "Fuck it, he's over there." Um, and let's just his guy was there. He was able to beat coverage, and it was just a perfect throw, and it's insane. He's one of he's like Mahomes in a way. Obviously, not as good as Mahomes, but when it comes to like those huge splash plays that makes people go like, "Ah, what the fuck?" Caleb Williams is able to do that, and he just has there's the term like he has arm talent, arm strength gets thrown around probably a lot more than it should. Cause to me arm strength is more it's less about how far can you throw. You know? To me it's more about how far can you throw at this angle of your arm, how far can you throw with power and accuracy. Can you throw, moving to the left you throw with your right hand. You know, like how good is your arm in the pressure? And I think Caleb Williams showed not just this game, but really this season, and honestly, and in parts in college, which is why he went first overall pick, was that he was able to do all those arm things. He was able to do that with his arm, which is a very rare thing. The guy he's playing today, Matthew Stafford, is known for being able to do that. Obviously, he's not as mobile anymore. He's old. I say that when he's like 38 years old. But you get what I mean. He's old for football standards. And, but yeah, Caleb Williams, obviously 3 interceptions. You never want that. You never want your quarterback to throw 3 interceptions. I will talk about CJ Stroud as soon as this game is over because I got a lot to say about CJ Stroud. But as the Rams, this was kind of just another game like last week where it was like you probably were supposed to win the game and you weren't really impressive doing it. They haven't quite. What's scary with the Rams is they haven't quite figured it out in this postseason run in these 2 games, and they still won. They still won both of these games. It's gonna be a really tough matchup against the Seahawks. Although you did just score 37 on them a few weeks ago, but you ended up losing that game. That's gonna be a really really fun matchup. Really fun actually thinking about that just because of how Seattle's been playing recently. But for the Chicago Bears, this was it's a season where you have to hold your head high. You know, you figured out. I think everyone knew that Ben Johnson was gonna work. It was whether or not Caleb Williams would work within Ben Johnson's scheme, and at times it didn't. 58% completion percentage. At times I don't want to say he was careless with the ball because he didn't really throw turnovers, but he was very inaccurate, which led to some plays where it was like that could have been picked. And today they just happened to be picked off. But if I'm the Bears, I realize, hey, I got a good run game. I have Rome Odunze when he's healthy. I have my franchise quarterback, and I have one of the best offensive minds in the league. And this was only year one. We can only get better from here, And as for the Rams, congratulations, you're back in a championship game against a rival in your division with the Seahawks. You're gonna have to play better offense coming Sunday if you want to be able to play on February 8th. And I won't doubt that Sean McVay won't be able to scheme up some great plays against the Seahawks. But also I can't fully guarantee you that you're gonna be able to move the ball the way you want to. I don't really have a whole lot to say about the Rams just because they were going into the year. If Matthew Stafford was healthy, they were supposed to be one of the best teams. It's more of like a congratulations, you did what you were supposed to do, and then congratulations, Chicago Bears. We didn't know you're going to be this far, and we've just seen that you can compete with all these great teams now, and you can only imagine what it's going to be like next year when your young players get better, and then another draft class, although it is kind of a bad one. And then you get now you have a place where people want to go to play. Which you couldn't really say for a while with Chicago, just because they were a mediocre franchise, and this year now offensive players, skill position players are gonna want to come over here. Defensive players are gonna want to come over here just because you saw this team got turned over the ball a lot. They made sure that they gave as many chances to the offense. And they were able to do that for the most part this season. Obviously, you don't want to end a season this way where you make it to overtime at home. You win the coin toss, but you're not able to come up with anything, and you allow a field goal to lose at home. But at the end of the day, this is a great year for the Bears. You can only get better. And as for the Rams, congratulations. You did what you were supposed to do. All right, now let's talk about the game I really want to talk about. The Houston Texans against the New England Patriots. My, oh my, is this the game that I want to talk about? This was two offenses that didn't know what to do. This was terrible. CJ Stroud went 20 of 47 for 212 yards, a touchdown, and 4 first half interceptions. How do you fucking allow that shit, dude? It was terrible. You know what's really bad, though? Is that it wasn't like Drake May was any better than that. He went for 16 and 27, 179 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. That seems really good, right? But I think he had he fumbled the ball 3 times, I think. And 2 of them were lost, I believe. So he also was careless with the football. This was just 2 offenses that couldn't do shit. They couldn't do anything. The score of 28 is only because at some point the Texans defense were getting tired because they were on the field constantly. Because it was either like a 3 and out from the Texans offense or they turned over the ball. So it was just like, at some point I felt bad. I'm like, dude, this Texans defense is constantly giving the ball in great position to the offense. And CJ Stroud on the offense was just not able to do shit. CJ Stroud may have had the biggest regression I have ever seen in a quarterback in a 3-year span. To where in 2023, there was genuine conversations of could he be the MVP? Because that was a year where like it was either like Dak Prescott, Brock Purdy, CMC, Lamar Jackson who won it, and CJ Stroud. There wasn't really a great quarterback performance that year. So they're like, hey, I mean, he played like 14 games, 14, 15, great record, 22 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. No one saw this Texans team going 10-7 and making the playoffs. You could give it to him. And the last 2 seasons, he has been really bad. He went from looking like a generational talent to being like, do you pick up his 5th option? That was in a 2 years ago, he took Puka Nakua's Offensive Rookie of the Year award, where Puka like broke records as a receiver, as a rookie. But they're like, no, CJ Stroud's the quarterback of a team that went 10-7 that got the 2nd overall pick last year. It has to be him. He played so well. And he has looked like absolute garbage the last 2 seasons. In the postseason, I think he had 5 or 6 turnovers or 5 or 6 interceptions and like 4 like fumbles. It was absolutely terrible. Let me see what I can find here. But yeah, it was just like, how the fuck did you go from being like a generational looking talent to just not being able to fucking do shit as a quarterback? It made no sense. It still does make no sense. And Drake May also in this postseason run has not looked good. He's probably been the worst part of the Patriots, which is crazy because like he probably will go 2nd in MVP behind probably like Matthew Stafford. But yeah, really, really bad. CJ Stroud in the last 2 games has thrown 2 touchdowns, had 5 interceptions. Yikes. That's really, really bad. It was just CJ Stroud makes no sense. Cause you mean to tell me if I told you after the rookie season that CJ Stroud and Bryce Young had, you would think I would be crazy if I told you that in year 3, Bryce Young had a better season than CJ Stroud. You would call me crazy. But that is the world we live in, where Bryce Young looked better this season than CJ Stroud did. And that's insane. You could be like, well, they won a playoff game and the Panthers didn't. Bryce Young had like 3 passing touchdowns against the Rams in 1 game. CJ Stroud in these 2 playoff games had only 2. Okay? Yeah, 28.0 passer rating. I don't know what the fuck that means, but that's really bad. You know what I mean? It was just, wow. He's fully just not looked great over the last 2 seasons. And I kept watching this game and me and my buddies were like, yo, if this team just had any offense, they would have won this playoff game with relative ease. And they just weren't able to do it. It was really bad. Watching the Texans, I told my uncles this, or at least I think one of them, that watching the Texans offense makes me hate football. It is so dog shit. Just because you have Nico Collins. He's really good. You have CJ Stroud. He's supposed to be really good. You have Dalton Schultz, who's a good tight end. But nothing else works. You have no O-line. Your O-line's terrible. You have Woody Marks, who I don't think is really good. It is hard to say that just because, if he had a good O-line, maybe he would be better. You have Nick Chubbs, who has I really wanted him to play well this season, just coming back off, he was a great earlier running back in his career, and after the injury, I think in 2023, he just hasn't been there. And Joe Mixon was fucking nowhere to be found. And it just really sucks because if you had at least a run game where you just kept the ball enough, this team would have probably won the game. You know? And the Texans defense was forcing turnovers. That's what I can't get. That's what I'm mad at. Is the fact that the Texans defense was literally putting belt to ass on the Patriots. And it was just like, it was 21 to 13 and a half, or 21-10 and a half. It probably should have been like 31-10, you know? But the fact that the Texans were like, all right, C.J. Stroud just threw another interception. We're going to force a 3-and-out. And that's exactly what they were able to do. And what did C.J. Stroud do? Throw it to the wrong team the next drive. It pisses me off watching C.J. Stroud play quarterback. Because he showed me all the goods. He showed me everything. And now he can't get there again. It pisses me off. Just because I was high on him in college. Obviously, I was like 15 when I said that. But he was really good at Ohio State. I should have realized that no quarterback from Ohio State ever works out in the NFL. And don't even try to bring up the whole Joe Burrow went to Ohio State. He went to school at Ohio State. He played football at LSU. That one doesn't count. It pisses me off because C.J. Stroud showed me everything that you want in a great quarterback, and then he forgot he had those things the last 2 seasons. This game isn't even about the Patriots. This is about how C.J. Stroud regressed so heavily the last 2 seasons. It's terrible. I keep seeing the whole thing against the Bucks in his rookie year, where it was like, can you believe that he got fucking 5 touchdowns in this game? I haven't seen him fucking throw 5 touchdowns in the last 4 games. It's been absolute dog shit. I mean, yeah, last 4 games he's throwing 5 fucking touchdowns. He did that in 1 game in his rookie season. I just can't get it at all. He's just fallen flat. He's no longer that guy anymore. And that sucks. I should have known when he was he said it this year in the offseason. He's like, I don't feel athletic anymore. I don't feel as athletic anymore as I was in my rookie year. You're 23. What do you mean you don't feel athletic anymore? You're not even in your prime. What do you mean you feel like you're getting slower now? You're 23. No. He just pisses me off to watch him just because I fell in love with his play. And he hasn't gotten back there anymore or any since. And it just sucks. Yes, he's 24 actually. It just sucks though. How he just hasn't played great the last 2 seasons. In the last 2 seasons, if he was just 70% of what he was as a rookie, they could win more than 1 playoff game each of those 2 seasons. They could probably beat the Patriots. They could probably be in the Super Bowl. My whole reason why I picked the Texans to win this game was based off the fact that I'm like, hey, if CJ Stroud isn't a dumbass and doesn't turn over the ball, there is no reason why this team should lose. I didn't take into account that CJ Stroud forgot he was a Houston Texan and gave the ball to the Patriots 4 times. Ugh, just fucking terrible, man. I don't know. That's my recap. I'm mad still. This just made me mad now. This just made me mad now. Realizing that CJ Stroud was not what I once thought he was going to be. Yeah, that sucks. It sucks. Tomorrow's video. I'm debating now. I know I think on Friday I was gonna have a UFC thing on Monday where I showed the whole the news of what happened this week. I probably won't do that actually tomorrow. I'll probably have I don't know, figure something out that day. I'll figure it out tomorrow. Do expect though UFC 324 predictions on probably Wednesday, I'd say. And then obviously the football prediction on Friday next week. But yeah, that is all I have today. Trying to calm myself down after I got really mad at CJ Stroud. But yeah, that's all for the video. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.